2014. I'm a Pimpin, and I'm a Poohin. Recorded live Sunday, December 8th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief over here at iTechGear.org. And with us today, we've got a full crew today, which is actually kind of nice, considering that we've been off for... We're not recording episodes. We're always off.
That's nice. That's the story I heard.
So we've got the full crew. We've got the usual suspects here. The former contributing editor from Gear Diary and Pocket, and the late great Pocket now, and of course editor over here at iTechGear.org, Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Just trying to stay warm in these chilly days that we've all been having.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding.
But good otherwise.
Yeah. Yep, it's a balmy 46 right now here at iTechGear Central, but I'm telling you, man, it was not that warm this week.
This is the first almost warm day I think I've seen in a while. So here we go.
In a while, yeah. Yep. Also joining us this week, the former contributing writer over at Gear Diary, and currently, of course, the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and the Living in the Retro Arcade podcast, Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. And one more because, I'm not a busy man, I guess. I started a new YouTube channel called New Life Resolution. Right now, I just have a trailer up. I've got a video captured for the next one.
Okay.
And it's basically the chronicle of my journey, my weight loss journey, as well as my journey and exploits on trails and other things. Signed up for not one but two Mammoth Marches next year. One in Versailles, Indiana, at their state park, and then one at Cuyahoga Valley National Park. So that'd be June 28th for Indiana and September 21st for the Cuyahoga one, and then the hot chocolate run, which I did complete. Yay!
Nice.
My first 5K, and now I'm doing the 10K edition next November. So
nice.
And I just want to chronicle those things because I think that weight loss and weight problems and health problems are huge in not just in guys our age, but in IT and work in general, because we spend so damn much time sitting in front of our screens.
Sitting. It's which is one of the reasons why I am vicariously losing weight through Joel. So
me too.
Oh, so you mean I lost it, you found it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh dear.
Oh, and of course, last but never, ever least, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications and editor here at iTechGear Weekly, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I once did a 5-foot hot chocolate run between the bathroom and the Keurig.
This is what I'm saying.
Hey, in just 1 week from today, the movers will be here. And I don't care if you move 1,000 miles or 1.6 miles, as is our case. Moving is a major pain in the
I agree.
What? I don't ever want to do this again. Ever.
But you know what, Larry? I say that every time I've had to do it too.
Well, not only is it a pain, but it's expensive. I mean,
it is.
10 trips to the furniture store and you're broke. It's just
oh hell, one trip to the furniture store and you're broke.
The only good news is when you're still kind of doing it for career moves, you can almost always make the company you're moving bear some of that cost. But when once you've retired, or once you're not, once you make a deal where you don't have that, it becomes a really expensive proposition moving.
Yeah,
it really truly does. I thought it would be less, but
no. Even
not.
simple moves are expensive now. That's
truly is.
We're not jealous of you, Larry. We're not jealous.
No, sure you're not.
No, but I will tell you before we get into it. I will tell you that we took one of the things that we did over the break here at the show. We went and celebrated Thanksgiving with my in-laws in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Michelle, my wife, looked at me and when we got back this past week, and she said, yeah, this is bullshit, and I am going to be a desert snow bunny
Why do we live
Here
in
on out.
Chicago?
That's
Why
it.
do we
It
live
gets
here?
cold, and I'm out. And I'm like, well, what about me? I'm just. She said, you'll be fine. It's only 3 months. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right if you find work.
Yeah. So, so I got that going for me. That's awesome. But you know what else is awesome?
What is awesome?
I
What is?
hear that iOS 18 release candidate and the actual release of the Apple Intelligence enabled software is just around the corner. Larry, where are we with this?
Well, Chris and I are in the beta
Yeah.
for that. I'll tell you that.
We
But
are.
when you've seen as many rodeos as I have, you don't get too excited when another new bull comes out of the chute. But I'm
Sure.
telling you, iOS 18.2 is different. It's seriously different.
It's
I
seriously.
honestly,
No,
I honestly have never
there's a show
seen.
title. It's SIRI. Seriously different. There you go.
I have honestly not seen a more revolutionary change in an operating system at one time ever. Apple Intelligence, yeah, it's like every other version of AI. It may not be perfect, but what I've experienced looking at 18.2, the beta, and I'm sure Chris has probably got more opinions than I do. He's been on it longer. It's a lot more perfect than what I've seen out of the other big two. And what they have is good. So I'm not talking bad about that.
Well,
But
and when we talk about changes, Larry, well, a lot of times we talk about changes to the UI, and that's not what's changed here. The UI pretty much looks like it's always looked for the most part.
Sure.
Except for
the
mail.
changes, but no, I'm talking about the UI in general. The operating system runs the way it always ran. Nothing really changed. If you just spun it up, you'd go,
everything's fine.
It looks the same. It works the way it always worked, But what it is it's all these little things under the hood that you go, oh, it's doing that now. That's cool. And you're doing a lot of that. Oh, it's doing that now. Just normal things you do. You notice, like you said, mail is a good example. Messages are a good example.
Messages is a big change. Wow.
There's summarizations that didn't used to be there. All these little kind of AI tricks that they're pulling.
Right.
And again,
you know what's really
we can argue whether it's AI or not, but yeah.
I've been sitting on this for
you have
a few weeks. I have.
What are you sitting on?
His thumb.
Look, it's a family show. Anyway. Anyway.
Have you met my family?
The other day, I installed iOS 18.1 when it came out. And shortly after that, I asked Siri what I considered to be a rather complex question. One that I knew that previously it would have, it would display, here's what I found on the web about X. All right. Okay. Now I had asked, I said, hey, Shlomo.
Okay.
I said, hey, S, what does a flashing tire sensor light mean on a 2014 Toyota Highlander? All right.
Here's what I found on the web.
Which is what I expected. Instead, I got the right answer. I actually got an answer. The S came back and she said, a flashing tire sensor light on a 2014 Toyota Highlander means that the
car's flat.
Means that the car's computer has lost communication with the tire sensor on at least one tire.
Was that 18.1 or 0.2?
That was 18.1. All right.
Well,
and that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. Larry. I gave it that kind of face. A
lot of those changes were back-end Siri changes.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 18.1, now with 18.2, you're going to get an even stronger Siri, and you're going to get a ChatGPT implementation. All right. That will allow, if you have a ChatGPT account, it will allow you to,
right.
If you have an account, it will allow you to go ahead and synchronize that in there. What I don't like, because I'm running the beta right now, for 18.2, because I wanted to see what it would do with that ChatGPT integration. It asks before it goes out.
Right.
All right. I don't really like that because I don't know what I would just rather it go and get it and say, here's what this is what this is. And then ChatGPT provides the following information. I would just like it to go and get it. Would you like me
Yeah.
to go and, because I don't know if you're going to go ahead and tell me all these wonderful things about what a tire sensor light is. I don't need to hear that. All right. What I need is the answer.
Well,
Don't ask me if you're going to go here. Just go
Well,
get it.
again, that's a privacy thing, but maybe they'll put that in as a toggle or a switch going forward.
I'd
or
rather
something.
see it as a toggle and
so
a
you,
switch.
so
I
you
really
can
would.
do that, you know.
I
but
really,
I
really
get
would.
it.
Speaking of Chat GPT, I think this is the first time that Apple in many, many years has let anybody any outside company have anything integral to do with the iPhone, period.
Yeah.
And they let Chat GPT in, and that's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the last time was Google when they started the iPhone to begin with.
yeah.
So
I think that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what was really, really interesting is I was flying home from Scottsdale from visiting my in-laws for Thanksgiving, and there was a person sitting next to me. I'm not going to identify who they are or what company they were with, but this person was writing job descriptions and was getting most of them through Chat GPT. Write a job description for this, and it would get the job description, and that person would look through the job description that they got, and then they would type okay, or then they now add this, or now or now take this and change it from this type of engineer to this type of engineer, and it would pull up all of it was very interesting to watch and see this person do all these things with Chat GPT. There's a lot that it can do, and a lot of context that you do not have to give it while you're doing it.
We talk a lot about where this stuff is going right now, and there's some interesting contractual things that OpenAI is trying to change with Microsoft right now. They're supposed to Microsoft's supposed to get kind of blocked once OpenAI and ChatGPT all go to AGI, where they've achieved that level of artificial intelligence, where they think that's going to actually be sooner rather than later. So they're talking about removing those clauses from their contracts with Microsoft, and I wonder how that's going to change this relationship with Apple and with anybody else that they've got going on.
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
because this whole what I'm saying is this whole market, this whole notion. Again, we can argue about whether it's really AI or it's not at this point, but that's not even the issue anymore. The issue now is where are these markets going with this stuff? What are they going to do with this? Where do they think they're really going to land?
I still think it's somewhat.
We're still on where the bumpers,
Yeah.
Somewhat, they're still just finding what was already there. They're just now being able to
I think that's true.
out.
Partially, I think you're right. I do know that we've got a not to spoil anything, but previews of coming attractions. We've got a couple of AI related stories in the Windows segment of this show. And I know that there's a lot that's going on there. I don't personally. There are some companies that I do not feel very comfortable.
Yeah, I would
with their AI implementations. Microsoft happens to be one of them, but
true. But something, Chris Gavula and I both have been a proponent of the following ever since AI has come about the second time here. That is, you'll be going along doing like what the guy beside you in the plane was doing. Look up this, look up that, tell me this, tell me that. And then pretty soon you come across one that says, and you go, wait a minute, that's not right. And it's not. So AI is still not perfect. And you can't just take it at face value. Can't do it.
True.
No,
true. No, there's a lot to be desired left to come together.
And the argument is it's not even really about AI. It's about the source data, right?
Yeah.
And until you can vet all the source data that it's using, you're going to have these problems. You're just going to continue to have these, just like we do with people, by the way. People lie on the internet all the time, and other people believe them. This is common, unfortunately. AI is no different.
No, and that's very, very true. And that's one of the things that you get not from AI, but from free speech. You get people that will spread, and I hate to use the term because you've got
to filter it yourself. You have
to be able to decide,
and that's hard.
Determine
people want to do that.
What you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe, right?
But the point is, these tools are all going to just make all of that worse, or more complicated, or more challenging, or better in some cases. In some cases, it will make it better because it'll make it easier to filter. But in other cases, it's going to make it harder to filter. And we're just
totally.
We're just going to have to be smart smart. That's all we can do is we can just try to be as smart and diligent as we
Yeah.
can be. So
Yep.
so Apple's moving forward with a lot of their stuff. Their stuff is very subtle in a lot of ways, and it's
Yep.
kind of behind the scenes stuff.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see. And so, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong. There's more coming. Isn't there an 18.4 release coming that's supposed to offer even more of this?
Well,
Well, I think 18.3 brings more. They
each
said
18.3, 18.4, and whatever they decide beyond 18.4 is supposed to bring more and more of the AI model into place. All right.
Gotcha.
they
Now,
didn't.
originally,
I think I read that it'll somewhat stabilize when 19 comes out.
I had heard though that most of the major components that they had planned, which by now, of course, has changed because this statement was made when 18 was originally released, 18.0 was released, and then you've had 18.1, now 18.2. There's going to be 18.3 and 18.4, which is a total of 5 different 18.x based releases. And you're saying that it should stabilize with 19. I agree with you, but I know that most of the components that they had in their original plan and model should be complete with 18.4.
Before then, probably.
Or
Which
with
is why
18.4.
19 would be stable. Well, that's exactly why it would be stable.
Right.
What I would rather see are some of those things that are coming now to 18 and iOS come to Mac OS. They're not yet.
Some have.
Few,
Some
have.
have with their latest release of Mac OS.
Mac OS.
All right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
are getting the same level of AI integration. So Apple Intelligence is integrating into the desktop.
Not into all the apps, though, Chris.
No, it's not.
Mail,
Not yet.
Mail ain't there yet. It's just
Nope.
not.
Nope.
No, it's not.
You're right. You're
And
right.
it's a shame because what they've done to Mail in iOS is bringing people back to Apple Mail by the millions. I mean, it's an amazing product. It really, really is.
Sure.
I
Sure.
never thought I'd say that.
Well, I liked it on the desktop a while back. I've got to take a look at it again and see if
I've
it's-
gone back to it in both places now. I really have.
Yeah.
But
And if it works, it's free as opposed to
True.
what I'm doing now. But let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah,
Larry, you had sent her out this week a
I
very
forgot.
interesting photograph, right?
True.
Related to what we're calling this, what gradually went away.
Well, for most of us anyway, at least for you and Chris and I, we remember the initial first MacBooks, the old, and even previous
gosh.
to the MacBook. But both sides of that device were lined with ports. There wasn't a spot that didn't have a port in it. And then slowly what went away?
Loved it.
Port or two. And what we have now are basically 2 USB ports and an open ticket to go to Amazon and buy a dongle that'll take care of everything else. That's it.
Here's the thing. They didn't just gradually go away because the 12-inch MacBook came out in 2015. That's almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it had all the ports gone.
2.
You had USB-C. That's the port you had.
It took it off the
did you have
cheaper
1 or 2?
versions first. The cheaper versions went first. The MacBook Pro kept it for a long time.
No, well, the MacBook, the 12-inch MacBook was not a cheaper version. That's the thing. It had 1, Chris, and it had an audio port on the other side. It had a 3.5-inch jack on the other side.
Okay.
So that's all it had, and it was the first time it had gone very minimalist because, like we used to say, it was the manager book, right? It was designed to just be portable, take it along, and you anything you needed to hook in, you could hook in through a dongle if you had to. But even dongles weren't a big thing at that point.
No.
You just basically powered it up. There wasn't even really, heavy duty. I mean, it supported monitor, it supported HDMI through that port, but
it did, but it also did not have a charging port, as I recall. It was the USB-C port that provided power.
Correct. So what you would do is you would buy that multi-pronged Apple adapter that had HDMI. It had another USB in it, and it had USB-A in it as well. And you plug that in, you'd plug your charger into that, and you'd plug your HDMI into it, and you hooked it right
Mhm.
to your monitor if you wanted.
Right.
So that's how you got around it. It was no big deal, but
Right, but I believe then in 20 it was so that came out in 2015. I think to an
Mhm.
extent Larry was right, but it was only 2 years. It was the 2017 MacBook Pro was the one with the butterfly keyboard, right? The
Right.
Yeah.
first edition of that came out and had I believe it was 4 USB-C ports, it had 2 on one side and 2 on the other. All right, and on the right side it
Yeah.
had the 2 ports plus the headphone jack at the time. All right. And Chris and I know because he listened to me rant and rave for at least
oh
until
yeah,
So did I.
until
I
2020.
remember it.
At least
Yeah.
until 2020, because there were dongles were few and far between. It was difficult to find the type of dongle that you wanted or needed.
and
The
what did I tell you
docking
back then?
stations didn't, there weren't the quote unquote portable docking stations that
And
there are
some of
now.
the Amazon El
Mhm.
Cheapo dongles, you'd buy them and they wouldn't work. They
Right.
really
No,
wouldn't
and I
work.
remember telling you at the time that there really the problem is you have to make the change sooner or later, and it's a hard change to make, and we have to make it sooner or later. So I suggested to you at the time, rather than spending a lot of time and money on dongles, focus your energy more on trying to get newer peripherals that use the new ports because they're not going away, is what I told you. They're not going away.
Oh no,
This is
I
how
knew
it's going, and you
USB-C
knew that.
wasn't going to away.
We agreed
it
with
wasn't going
that.
to go away. I
And
didn't-
we're
But
in
that
that
transition-
same era right now with the Lightning port. We're
But you could
still
always
stuck with them.
argue, gee, they started too early. Gee, they started too late. You could do that no matter when they had picked to start the process, but they did need to start it. They did get there. And Apple does tend to be at the bleeding edge of that crap. They always have been.
Yeah,
you
why
know.
they can be the bleeding edge of that and not anything else just
Well,
really
they were.
irks the
They were one of the first devices to stop floppy ports altogether, floppy drives. They were one of the first ones to do that. What are you
that
talking about?
that and DVD drives. They were the first
And-
ones to put it in, and they were the first ones to pull it out.
They've been pretty early on in all of those kind of trends.
Right? Why be on the ragged, hairy, bleeding, cutting edge of that and not other things?
Well, again, there's some things that work. You can't do it all, I suppose.
No,
I don't know.
I had said, and I think your point to me was your response was get over it. But I had said
I did kind of tell you to get over it.
No.
did.
but my point was, well, why can't you give me one side that's got just USB-C and then give me just a couple USB-A's or
And I would argue, and I
LAN
think I
port
agree with
or
the
something.
They were
Or a
trying to,
headphone jack.
trying to train you, Chris,
But
to get away from it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to tell you the same thing I told
giving
him.
you-
Shut
giving
up,
you the-
Larry.
he did tell me that too at the time. But giving you the crutch does not do you a service. It makes the transition just take longer. That's all. It makes it.
Yes,
It's like
yes and
pulling off
no.
the bandage before we try, rather than trying to slowly take it off. I
Yes,
agree.
I will agree with you to a point. Yes and no. And this is exactly what I said back then. All right. The problem was the peripherals that used at the time that used USB-C were few and far between. The ones that were out there were of decent quality were expensive.
Yeah.
The stuff that you could afford was
But
junk.
I told you until they did these ports, nobody was going to make the peripherals.
Well,
So they needed to do what they did. I think they did it right. I think everybody, and everybody followed suit very quickly.
we got through it. It was not
Well,
an
so
easy.
here's where we are. So here we are a number of years later now.
It was
Okay,
not
this
an
is-
easy 7 years. All
No.
right. It wasn't.
Well, that's because you didn't want to transition. You dragged your freaking feet.
That's not
But
that's not true. I wanted to be
I'm
able to
teasing.
do what I needed to get done. There were a lot of folks that would have the same opinion that
Oh.
you are espousing
True.
right now.
True.
All right, and did back then. All right. Get over it and get through it. Just jump on the new standard. It's a
And
standard.
that's what I did. That's what I did, and it worked fine for me. But
It worked for me too.
But
Yeah,
yes, but not for everyone. And that was the problem. I know that the stuff that I had and had spent money on, there was nothing wrong with it.
Now I will admit it was expensive. You did
It was
have
expensive.
to spend more
It was
money.
in good shape, and I still needed to be able to use
Yeah.
it in order to be able to get the money out of it, the value out of it.
well, I think and then get a PC. I mean, they were still on them. Yeah.
True.
And the old, and you didn't have to upgrade your MacBook at that point either. You could have stayed with the old one for a while until things were a little further along.
Says
could have
you.
done that.
Says you.
Right.
No, you're right. You're right. You could have chosen
could
to
have.
stay with the computer.
And some
that you
people
had.
did. I mean, and there
And a
definitely
lot
was
of folks did.
there was definitely a secondary market for. Well, the same thing happened with the silicon transition, right?
Yep.
A lot of people stayed on the Intel until they were ready to make the transition. They
Right.
stayed there. Okay,
Right.
well, that's what you do.
But Apple specifically and purposefully did that to allow them to, because they knew that their computers were high priced. And because I remember Tim saying this, we know they cost a lot of money. We know that the best of class hardware that's out there. We're going to transition this over 2 years so that you have time to get the value out of what you're getting the value out of now. And then
I don't think putting dual ports
later.
in anything was necessarily a good idea. I think things have done that, and I get why they do it, and I get what you're saying, but I just think it's a crutch. It doesn't solve the problem. I think you don't move. So I get it.
Well, it's a good thing you don't have any kids because they'd be very, very screwed up. Rip the Band-Aid off. Just rip it off. Pansies.
Daddy, it hurts.
You wimps. Anyway. Oh, I'm going to hell for that one. Anyway.
Oops.
So the ports are gone. I think we're at a point now. I think we're at a point now where we've
and
got
that was my question. Where do you think we are now?
A decent balance. Well, we've got a decent balance, right? Everybody's used to USB-C. They know it's not going away. Most folks have shifted away from A and are adopting C. Yes, there are still some things that are out there that are using A-based ports. All right, but
not a lot. But not a lot anymore.
Not as
They're
many.
The exception.
Not
They're
as
the
many.
exception, not the norm anymore.
Yes, I agree.
And I think you've seen micro USB all but disappear except on a few types of devices. You're seeing Lightning finally disappear in Apple as of this last round, right? We're finally seeing it disappear. There's only one or two things. Is there anything left with it that's still supporting Lightning? I think it's all gone now, isn't it?
You know who's not jumping on the bandwagon as quickly as I thought? And it's major manufacturers. Let me take Norelco for number one. I bought a new shaver, mine broke, so I bought a brand new, latest model Norelco. Shavers, at least theirs, don't come anymore with the old charging brick that plugs in with a proprietary jack. Now they come with a cable with a proprietary jack that has a USB freaking A plug on the other
a lot
end.
of them do.
Brand new. It needs to be C.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Agreed.
Yeah, they're it's funny. Those appliances always seem to be the last thing on the board. They always seem to be behind everybody else. How long did they ship these goofy AC adapters that didn't match anything before they even shifted to using things like?
And you
like
got a bucket of AC
standard
adapters that you don't know what the hell they go to.
And you don't know what they're for. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. How long did they keep that going even after USB had enough power to do what they needed?
No idea.
Long time.
Well, I mean, in amateur radio, I still deal with it. Although one of my radios does have now, it doesn't plug into the radio itself because the radio needs 12 volts. But the battery pack itself has a USB-C port on the back to charge the battery with USB-C.
Yeah,
it does work, and it works fairly quickly. It's slower than the dock.
Are the newer devices all starting to come out more with USB-C in your
not in amateur radio? No.
They're still on the old stuff, huh? Okay.
Yeah, well, and that's because you have to have, like, you're talking about fairly high voltages that USB-C can't do yet. We're talking with 12 and 13.8 volts.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
I mean, I wish that. I mean, if that was the case, and they had high wattage ports in your car, then you wouldn't need to route to the battery for the radio. But it's unfortunately that's going to be that way for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Amateur radio moves historically slow on that. I mean, packet radio is still probably the most common is 1200 baud, folks. Still.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, 9600 is out there, but 1200 baud is probably what the majority of the amateur radio community uses for 2-meter packet radio. So I mean, it's that moves slow for a reason, because it's used for emergency purposes for a lot of folks.
Well, and we're going to have a conversation about something else that's going away that I think shouldn't be going away. In the near, we'll be down our list here. We'll be talking about that too.
Yeah.
So what do we expect to have coming in the short term here, Larry?
Well, for December, right? What's going on with
Yeah,
Apple?
exactly.
You
OS
know what?
updates, right?
Rather
That's
than
it, right?
rather than try and get prolific here, I'm going to rattle off some of the primary things, and then when we're done, we can talk about maybe some of the important ones.
Okay.
Okay.
Overview, just bullet fire, Genmoji, make your own custom emoji.
Yeah.
Chat GPT and Siri, this is pretty cool. Image Playground, I've tried, I think you and I probably tried all of these, but
Yeah.
visual intelligence, that's going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Compose with Chat GPT, I tried that and I'm not sure yet, but
It's okay.
custom
I thought it was okay.
rewrites,
Yeah.
the rewriting tool works marvelously within Apple apps like Pages and Mail, really works well. So
Notes
also
works in
Apple
notes.
Mail, new makeover, new camera control features or features that work with the camera control button. The Vision OS 2.2 is also coming. And I
That's
think,
actually a lot of people are saying very good things about that
yeah, it's going
release,
to be a
and
huge
that
Mac
that
Virtual
it may
Display
actually
upgrade
bring
too.
people, but it may bring some people back to look at Vision Pro again or Vision OS again because they actually think some of these features are actually useful. Oh my gosh, did
True.
I actually say that? Oh wow, that came out of my mouth live.
18.2, as we've been talking about, and Vision OS 2.2 are going to bring especially compelling new features. I think iPad is a little behind, I think, isn't it, Chris? To me, it seems like it.
Well, I mean, it's got 18.2 and all the things that are in 18.2.
But it
Um,
doesn't feel like it. I don't know why.
they're there. I mean, they're there.
Are they?
You know,
Okay.
you see them in the apps. Um,
tvOS
yeah,
18.2, probably nothing to talk about there, but it's coming.
yeah, tvOS. I mean, to me, tvOS looks like tvOS looks like
Right.
tvOS. So I'm
Yeah.
happy with that. Don't screw with my tvOS.
Nope.
I
Nope. I
want it
have
to
it
work
on
the
three
way
different TVs. I don't want to learn
it
something new.
it reminds me. It's kind of like Joel was just saying with ham radio. TV is something that ought to work like TV has always worked. I don't want it to change fast. I don't want it to, you know, I just need to be able to get my show up on the screen and I'm happy. That's it.
Yep. Good point.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming.
But there's a lot of good stuff there, really.
Ah,
There is. Um, I'm really interested to see how the improvements in Apple Intelligence insert themselves and make themselves available and suggest themselves to
yeah,
users as they become available. It's going to be interesting because a lot of folks aren't necessarily used to having their computer be quote unquote smarter or smart as or
yeah,
as they are, or may perhaps there with a bit of information that they weren't aware of. um it's been more um hey, I want to go and find out more about this, and it's not been that the hardware has been suggesting it to you, and I didn't know that, you know so I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time, don't you
I think
think?
that's true. I think that's true.
Right?
Already is an interesting time.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And speaking of an interesting time, I'd like to move us to our mobile Linux segment.
Would you?
Mhm.
I would, because
We're
there's
ready
a
to
lot
move.
of speaking of a lot of interesting things coming down the pike, there's been some mobile device updates.
There
Sure
Um,
has.
has.
that I know, Chris, you and I have been yakking about
We have all week we've
over
been
the
talking about this coming. Yeah.
yeah, and this first one is really kind of interesting. The Android 15 for the OnePlus Open made itself available in North America the other
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah. We were
it's
kind of
kind of
surprised by
surprised both
that.
of us, didn't it?
It did because I think, we'd known that, based on the timetable they had issued a few weeks back, I think it was, we were
Mm-hmm.
expecting to see what I thought was going to be a beta this month
Yep.
as an option. And instead, it just got released on the
Yeah.
regular release schedule in North America. And we kind of both went,
Huh.
oh, huh, this is
Yeah.
here. And I will say, so I've done a little bit of following. I've watched a few YouTube bloggers talking about their experiences with various parts of this. And it's overall, I mean, I think Joel, I think you and I talked about this, and when Pixels came out with 15, we all kind of went,
Right.
okay, looks kind of like Android 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of did. Yeah.
Which kind of looked like Android 13, and so yeah, there's new features, there's individual new features that are there, absolutely. The big thing you're starting to see in these Android 15 releases is more of these, again, we'll call them the AI touches, right?
Yeah.
Especially in apps like the photo apps and things like that.
Yep.
You're starting to see more things show up. So what I'm seeing right now is a lot of comparisons between the Pixel devices and the OnePlus Open, or any of the OnePlus devices for that matter, and their implementation of AI in their photo apps and what they can and can't do, and
Right.
is everything complete? And so the general feeling is what I'm seeing and hearing out there, and it looks good to me. I mean, it looks fine to me. Everything's
Agreed.
working as far as I can tell. I haven't had any major issues,
Mhm.
but people are saying some of the features don't look like they're quite complete yet. They're there, but they're not really doing exactly what they think they're going to do yet, or maybe it's just people's misunderstanding of what they're supposed to do. I don't know. So I think the jury's still out on this release for OnePlus, but they're not the only ones doing it. They're not the only ones with a new release. Of course, Samsung's starting to release their One UI 7 stuff, which is their Android 15 based stuff. Right now, it's only for the 24s, right? The S24s. I haven't seen it for any other models yet. But the other models there are some models coming soon, from what we're seeing.
I have to see if Luke's got his yet, because I think he has a 24. But
Does he have an S24? It's
think
not on the
so.
S23s yet. It's not on the folds, any of the folds yet.
No, or the flip,
No.
or the
Or the
flip.
flip. It's not on
Um,
any of those yet, and certainly not on any of the tablets yet.
Right. I've got it on my S24, and it's interesting.
It's not on my S23. It's not on any of my tablets.
Right.
It's not on any of my folds. None of them. None of them have it yet. So
it's interesting.
what do you think? What are you thinking?
I like it so far. You're right about the AI based stuff that is supposed to be there. There's supposed to be way more of that than
I think
I think currently there. It's not quite.
I think everybody's
but-
is in kind of that state. I would argue everybody's is in kind of that.
Well,
It's there, but it's not completely there.
For Samsung, it is truly a beta. All right, it is One UI 7 is in beta.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you're right.
And that's fine. All right. That's fine.
But it's a public beta. I mean, it really is.
It is a public beta. All right. You did have to sign up for it in the Samsung members app, and then it'll go ahead and give you a special download. It wants to restart afterwards, so it kind of changes modes, everything. But then then you get the download for One UI 7, and then it looks a little bit different. It wants to do a couple of things different.
So the two things I'm seeing is that a lot of people are commenting that, gee, it looks a lot like iOS 18.
It does.
People are saying that the visuals are very similar to iOS 18. The layouts are very similar. The other thing I'm hearing a little bit of, I'm going to call it grumbling, but I don't know if it's really grumbling, is that people are a little disappointed that they removed Dex for Windows. Dex for Windows is gone. Now, Dex for Windows is a slightly different animal than just plain Dex. And it required an app on Windows. And they basically decided that, hey, we already have phone link for Windows, and stuff going forward is going to be easier.
Well, Dex for Windows really did a lot of the stuff that Apple was kind of trying to do with their iPad Pros and their Macs and their phones. I mean, a lot you could drag and drop apps.
Right. They were trying to mimic that a lot. I know. And so it's gone. It's not in Dex. It's not in One UI 7 anymore.
Right.
It's a done thing.
Right. So that they kind of abandoned that whole feature mimic, if you will.
Some of that had been coming up into Windows in the phone link. It's been showing up slowly.
Sure.
Some of those features have been kind of populating, at least partially, but but I would argue that it's not quite the same animal. I would say so. If they add some features to Windows Phone Link, then it'll be fine. And Samsung themselves are telling people to use Phone Link for Windows. That's what they're telling people to use,
which I think is interesting. So
I think that's a very interesting thing. So you got to wonder where that's going. So anyway, but otherwise I've heard, pretty positive things about it other
Yep.
than those little things, it's a
Agreed.
good thing. And then we have
Agreed.
one more thing that's happened this week, and that was Google has had a Pixel feature drop release.
Sure.
Yep.
They also, by the way, also had a new QPR release
Yeah.
as well for people who are on the beta at the same time this week. That was also came out. So
Yep.
they've been busy.
Which I don't deal with QPRs just because it's my production phone. So
Absolutely.
so I don't beta test. If I had more than one phone, I might, but I don't. But big ones they added, you can save info into Gemini Advanced. So like for example, if you're a vegetarian, you don't have to constantly remember Gemini that I only want vegetarian recipes. Although granted, it's not really something I'm interested in, of course. But there's other things that I might look at using that feature where get help across more of your favorite apps with Gemini as well. Answer phone calls a smart way, screen calls with even smarter replies from Gemini Nano, which I had not heard of Nano until I just read that. So lots of AI stuff here, live transcripts of your screen conversations. Newer shared social networks and fewer steps. Strike a pose with a dual screen, so definitely Pixel Fold update there.
Yeah.
But mostly AI stuff and then emoji crap, which I don't care about. But it's overall. I mean, I've been very pleased with all the Pixel updates I've gotten thus far.
Yeah.
Although there's only been a couple on the Pixel 9 Pro.
And I think they've generally been pretty smooth, I would argue.
They have.
Yeah.
I have a lot of the updates that I've gotten in since I bought my Pixel 9 Pro XL is been just making it even more stable than it already was. So.
I think another note I would add, I just saw it today, the story that on a number of the Pixel devices, they just announced that they're going to extend the support 2 more years.
Yes,
Yes,
Pixel 6 Pro. I could have kept my 6 Pro.
Yeah, I saw that
wasn't going to happen, but
so the 6, the 7, and the Fold have gotten extended. Their support contracts, I guess, extended.
Yep.
So to speak. So that's interesting piece of news on top of all this other stuff, and that means
basically
OS
bringing it in line with the rest of them,
right? But it means not just patches and fixes. It's OS releases too, is what they said. So
right
there we go, guys. They're supporting their product.
Yep.
Like you said, they've just brought it kind of in line with what everybody else was doing, and
Sure.
Maybe they were pressured to do it, but I don't care. They did it. It's a good thing.
Yep.
Wow.
It's not a good thing.
What's that?
What's not a good thing, Joel?
What's not a good thing, Joel?
Gelsinger retired.
Well, a lot of folks would disagree and say that is a good thing.
I think so.
Some would
too.
say
In fact,
that,
I think the
right,
stock jumped 5 points.
I think the stockholders there would be very happy.
I think the stock
did
jumped
go up
5
afterwards.
points. So
yes, it did.
Well, he gets his golden parachute. So I mean, after ruining the company, well, yeah, I wouldn't say he ruined it.
no, I would say he ruined it. Yeah, I would venture as far as to say he seriously screwed up, and to the point where I don't know that is a reasonable, plausible, probable path back.
That's what I mentioned to Chris earlier.
Yeah.
So
it's like they went into all this agreement with the CHIPS Act to the Ohio plant and spend billions of dollars of our money,
Yes,
our money, and that factory is not going to produce a chip before Biden's out of office, and probably not before Trump's out of office if it produces chips at all.
Yeah.
So
it's been kind of.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. No, go
well,
ahead.
for 2 things. One is I want to mention that we talked about just a minute ago, the stock went up right after his quote unquote retirement announcement, but it looks like in early trading went up 3.7%, not just 5 points, but 3.7% it went up. So people were the stockholders were clearly happy that this happened, but I've been disappointed in how they moved. The things they needed to move forward on, they didn't move forward on, and I understand there's some positive reviews of their current consumer chip releases that are coming out, and I understand that but they really still didn't address some of their underlying problems, is what they have not done. So I
Yep.
wish they would have done that better, faster. This guy didn't seem to drive them that way. Certainly not in a reasonable way. And here we are.
ARM is going to take over. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen.
AMD has a good landing pad right now too. I think they're
They
going to
do.
get a big chunk of the change the way they're
They
going
do.
too.
Mhm.
I think if anybody is going to continue the quote unquote Wintel consortium, it's going to be AMD. If that platform survives, if that Intel based platform survives at all, and AMD was a Me Too, was a compatible Intel compatible processor that came out
Yeah, it was.
gobs and gobs of years ago, just to provide
And they were always struggling for compatibility. They were always
Yes.
struggling to keep up.
Yes.
I remember for years they were doing that. Now they're driving all these little gaming PCs that are out there.
Yes, which we will talk about later.
We will, but
Mhm.
it's interesting. But the point is, they've not only found a niche, they found a way to grow themselves a bit.
Oh,
which
and they've
is
been scratching pretty
fascinating.
hard, with that niche.
So here we go.
So it's really it's an interesting development, and I do believe that AMD is going to be the only real company that moves the Intel based platform forward, if they do at all. All right, it's going to be AMD that does it. I think Intel's going to have a very difficult time moving their own platform forward, and anything that
and I
they
should
do
say-
come up with, I don't know that's going to be very successful.
One of the articles we're linking to is an article about ways that Intel could pull themselves kind of back from the brink. I don't know that they're going to do this. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a slow decline, a sudden decline. It hasn't been good for them lately. This
No.
2024 was not a
No.
happy year for Intel, and I
Right.
don't know where they're going with it. So it's going to be an interesting time.
Right. There are providing foundry services for other folks. I don't, where they take as an example, right? TSMC makes all of Apple's chips, right? Have them become a place where other folks' engineering designs are brought to life, and just have
But
them be a manufacturer.
But until you can get down those, the problem they've had is they've been unable to manufacture those lower nanometer chipsets. So they need to be able to get that or buy that process from somebody.
And I think
they're not there.
If they could become just a foundry service, they would get that from somebody else.
Yeah, I mean that's why TSMC managed to pull off what they did. Let's be honest, their processes is what got them there.
Right.
Mhm.
So
I never obviously managed a company as big as Intel, but I think they made a basic business mistake. Back in the formative years of ARM, I think they had that complacent feeling of, it's never going to go anywhere. They'll still buy our crap. And they didn't. And then it was too late. I really think that they just missed a couple of boats along the way.
Xscale basically died on the vine. They didn't do anything with it when Pocket PC went away.
Yeah.
I mean, they were making ARM chips. They had a significant jump on Apple and everybody else.
But they stopped. Why? Remember?
And it went to the wayside.
Yeah.
They just stopped.
It wasn't a perfect solution. We get that, but they didn't develop it either.
I think they stopped because it was taking away resources from their own platform, and therefore they didn't have anything
not do it than was to do it. So they chose the easy route.
Right. Exactly.
And they were selling chips back then, so they didn't care.
They were.
But now they're not as much.
I think they felt, ARM was going to be relegated to mobile devices only. And it's like, okay, I got news for you. They're all becoming mobile devices. You need to get used to that idea. That's what you neglected to see. They're all becoming mobile. Efficiency and power are going to be the big drivers going forward.
Exactly.
I know if I ever buy another Windows machine, it will be an ARM. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Well, I've been doing this meeting for weeks and weeks on an ARM-based PC, and I use it as a companion to my work computer every day, and I drive a lot of my secondary processes on this computer. And if I didn't know it was ARM, I wouldn't know it was ARM.
2006 is when Intel got rid of the ARM
that long ago.
Yeah. They sold Xscale to Marvell Technology Group back then, so I don't know where Marvell's at today, but obviously, they probably
you
shouldn't have
go.
done that.
I would say
Yeah.
not because again, I said this before. It's all the CISC versus RISC stuff,
Right, and that's one of
I
the.
think they went the wrong direction. Short term, it was a good answer. Long term, it was a bad answer.
I agree. You mentioned that we're linking to an article, 8 things that Intel could do to pull its ass out of the
Yeah,
fire effectively, right?
yeah,
This is written by Jason Perlow over at ZDNet Business, and they're saying, all right, they've got to get out of the stagnation that they're in. Number one.
yeah.
Number two, their x86 dependency. They've got to get out of that, even though there's strengths and weaknesses to that. So they've got to balance that, and they got to figure it out. All right, it's got to protect their x86 foundation while aggressively transitioning to new architectures. All right. If it fails to adapt, x86 risks becoming a niche product. Wouldn't that be
But what you just said,
kick?
Chris, I don't think that Intel has the infrastructure and the people and the
Not
wherewithal
yet.
to do that. I
Not
don't
yet.
think so.
Agree.
They'll
Agree.
have to get that.
They're going to have to buy it. They're going to have to
They're
buy the
right.
talent, and they're going
They're
to have
gonna
to
have to
buy the
spend money
technology,
if
buy
they
or
wanna
license the
live.
technology. All right.
Right.
We talked about the foundry services. They could do that, and
Yeah.
there's a gamble in that. They've got to figure out what the hell to do with AI. There's a lot of business that's bouncing around AI, and their chips specifically, the ARM platform has a neural engine built into the processor. The On the Intel side, this is something that's really handled by a graphics adapter or a graphics adapter card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got to build something into their own level of
Well,
art, their
their
own
new stuff, their new
processor.
stuff sort of has some of that going on now, and their new chipsets, but
On the
They're
art
woefully behind.
graphic
They're
chip,
woefully
right?
behind.
yeah. But I would argue they're not at the same level. And what they're doing, when you look at their numbers, and they're like, oh, look at our numbers. Our numbers are really good compared to now we're on par with ARM, and it's like, yeah, you're not really. You're
Yeah.
you're on par on some parameters, but you're not anywhere close on other parameters.
Yeah.
So you kind of
You're bogey golf at best.
and your current chip still, gee, if I pull the power plug out and I have to run on battery, my performance still goes way down.
Oh, it
You know,
tanks. It
you know.
absolutely tanks because
So
it needs the power to get the push.
so yeah, you're still not quite where you need to be. You think you are, but you're not. And what a lot of it are doing right now, in my opinion, is smoke and mirrors, while they kind of scramble in the back end. But some people will go for it. They won't know
Right.
the difference and won't care. So who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
The next thing though that they could do is boldly betting on ARM or jumping back into ARM
could do
and
that.
getting into RISC-V, right?
Yep, they could do that.
And mention my opinion, which they never should have sold Xscale.
No,
I
they
would
shouldn't
agree
have.
they shouldn't have.
They shouldn't
You
have,
know,
but
they were heading down a good path with that thing, and it was
they
it was
were
a
heading
thing.
down a good path with it, but they didn't see the ARM was at a point where it wasn't ready. It wasn't fully baked.
Certainly not for PCs anyway.
Not for
it wasn't.
PC
No.
use. All right. And that's really where it's finding its spot, right?
That's
Yeah,
where
now
the
it is.
purchaser numbers are. That's the
Right.
problem.
I agree.
There's a lot of political stuff that they're going to have to get into in terms of
Oh,
working the
gosh.
world economy and getting on the right sort of spot with some folks
With
in
everybody,
Asia, in Asia and in that part of the world, right? They've got to get a new leader, right? They've
Oh,
got to
yeah.
find the right person to drive them forward.
They
and
do.
getting that person's vision in place ASAP.
Yep.
And the last thing that they might be able to go ahead and do is selling themselves. To ensure that this guy just says to selling Intel to ensure its legacy. Qualcomm tried to buy it and they said, bite me. We're not selling, and that may have been a mistake.
Yeah.
But
But you hear rumors every other week. about Apple's going to buy Qualcomm. Qualcomm's going to buy Apple. Apple's going to buy Intel.
Qualcomm
Intel's going
couldn't
to.
buy Apple.
The point is you're getting what the point you're getting
No.
is you're always hearing the
Right, so
rumor
and
du
so's going to buy
jour.
so and so, and then such and such is going to go ahead. No, so
And so
Yeah.
I this is what we think. I think no matter who it is, I think Intel would do best probably to sell.
right.
But I don't know that they see it that way. But if they got the right person in charge, maybe they don't need to. But then they'd have to get more money for a while. They'd have to get investment.
If I were their shareholders, I would seriously be considering filing a lawsuit to have them divest.
Yeah, there you go.
It might not be the right thing to do because then that puts the whole platform on AMD, right? And their ability to make it. And even though they're doing much better than they were, they've been very comfortable in their second place, quote unquote, second place
They
spot.
have.
Which is very, very interesting considering the next subject and next
Okay.
item up for bids.
And what are we talking about next?
Gaming
Oh.
handhelds.
Yeah,
Are they a
turning.
good computer choice? And
It was a question I was asking. Yes.
yes. And honestly, I've got a couple. All right. I've got a
Okay.
couple. I've got some from GPD, and then I've got one from Lenovo. I've got the Lenovo Legion. I took the Lenovo Legion on the trip to
Arizona.
yeah, that's the one.
Mhm.
And used it to watch movies.
Okay.
Right. All right. Simply because it was something that was easy enough to carry and the screen was big enough.
And it's speaking of which is based on an AMD.
It
chip.
is based on an
Yep.
AMD Z1, right? Z1 Extreme, I think it is.
It's a Z1 Extreme. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
got 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's got 3 terabytes of storage, one via the
One on
2
board and
terabyte
another
drive
one
that
as
I
a
put in
card.
and a 1 terabyte SD card,
Yeah.
and I will say this, is it a good computer choice? Well, if you're going to play games and you want to be mobile while you're doing it, and you don't want to take a big, huge laptop with you to be able to play these games, I can tell you without a doubt, as far as the gaming experience is concerned, it's really very good.
I would think it would be a little laggy, but okay.
Yeah, it would depend on
depending
what
on
game
what
you
do
wanna
with
play.
this, depending
Right.
on
Yeah.
what you install and depending on what you do with this, I will tell you, if you install games onto or try to install services and games onto the micro SD card slot, depending on the card you have, you're going to have problems. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's where some of the lag's going to come in. However, if you've got a big enough drive and the drive is end user replaceable, it's a little bit on the challenging side, but it's doable. I did it. All right. And you get a decent SSD in there, you're gonna be just fine. All right. And for regular computing stuff, even though it's got like a 7 or a 9-inch diagonal screen, the screen's pretty good size.
It's 8 point something, I think.
All right, there you
what
go.
it is.
It's a decent size screen and it looks pretty good. For a gaming experience, it's just fine. For a computing experience, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Right.
Because some of those icons can get very, very tiny. Now, what I will say about this is this. If you were wanting to like use it for school or take it to college, it is absolutely more than capable of running, Office and all of those productivity things that you might need
Okay.
for that. Just all you need is a external monitor, right?
Well, and the
that's
thing
it.
that's interesting
keyboard.
is and a keyboard,
And a keyboard
yeah.
and a
And a
keyboard.
mouse.
And a mouse probably if
Well,
you don't want to use controllers.
it's got a touchpad on.
I know it's got controllers on there, but I don't know how
well,
good that is.
It's got
I
a
would still
touchpad
get
on
a
one of the
mouse.
controllers, and it works. All right, it works.
So
You're
but
better
having-
off with a external mouse. But I will tell you though that
it's
if
not
you
a
didn't
crisis.
have one, it's not a huge crime.
But
I
so
will,
the article that we linked to is
Right.
to a less expensive version coming out
it is
of
true
one of the devices.
of the
And-
Legion of the
and I think the
Legion
reason
Go,
that's
yeah.
important and the reason it got me kind of asking the broader question is
Mhm.
because I think there's a lot of people that probably already are and probably will want to possibly carry this kind of thing along with them, along with a
Mhm.
small portable keyboard and maybe even a mouse. and just try to get
Mhm.
some. Okay, I just got to do my email, or I just got to do a couple little web surfing and clipping and putting some things together,
Right.
using AI to put some article together.
Right.
Something very simple, some very simple things. The
Yep.
one thing I will say would have been nice in this case is had Windows 8 succeeded with its interface, this would be a lot more productive
Right.
in
Yes.
some ways.
Yes, it could have been had Metro not been met with the anger that it was met with. You know,
That's
had it
mildly
been had
I
it been
speaking.
mean,
able
I
to
would go with this new Legion Go because it's literally looks like
Yeah,
it's a PC version of this Nintendo Switch almost. Because
Yeah.
it kind of looks like
the
that, doesn't
size
it?
of it.
it
Yeah.
is it very much is, and it's very portable, it's very very toteable, and there is absolutely no reason why someone shouldn't be able to use that particular device to do whatever kind of computing they
And
would
what
need or want to do on the go
and
or
what
even
kind
at
of
home.
ports? What kind of ports out does this thing have?
It's got USB-C ports on it.
Okay, what does it
Um
do for video?
uh
Is it like
Thunderbolt?
HDMI? Is it HDMI over the USB-C? Is it HDMI over the Thunderbolt, like Joel just said?
yeah, it'll do HDMI and DisplayPort over USB-C.
So you just have to have an adapter to get
Right.
there. I
You
gotcha.
do. And it's best if you have some level of docking station, either
Gotcha.
It has
that you
something
plug
even
into one of
MacBooks
the
doesn't have
USB-C ports.
anymore.
You know, one of the USB-C ports, plug in a docking station or
What
something.
an audio
Right.
jack?
It does have
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed it had an audio jack.
it does have an
did see
audio jack.
that.
So, and you know, like I said, I mean, it looks big, right? I mean, it's a nifty little.
Yeah, it looked a little bit
Do
good.
that. I mean,
It
it
looked like a
looks
decent size.
it is a decent size, right?
Yeah, there you go.
It is a decent size, but the
Mhm.
screen is nice and big. You're able to do whatever it is that you need to do with it.
Got
And from a gaming
two USB-C 4.0s.
yeah, there's
Yep.
one on the top and there's one on the bottom. So,
So now this new one that's coming out will reduce a lot of this because they're
It
trying
will.
to cut costs on it. But
right.
it'll be interesting to see
It
where that goes.
reviews amazingly, like 5.0, period.
Yeah,
No
it gets good
4.9s.
reviews. It gets good reviews. So I was
It
just curious.
really does.
So it got me asking the question. I saw this thing and said, well, wait a minute, it's running Windows 11 Home. Uh, how
Runs
would it work?
Pro
How would it
just
work if
fine.
how would it run if I needed to do some other things on it? How would it be, if, that's it got me asking the question.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd ask it here, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's you see the blue in the video in the background.
I
That's
do.
it, that's it being plugged back into its external monitor, and
Ah,
it does
okay.
really well. All right.
Okay.
It does really
Awesome.
well.
And I know you can I know you can buy it with either 512 or 1 terabyte on board for its SSD, and you can buy it. Well, it comes with it has a micro SD card slot that can take up to a 2 terabyte card. Yeah, they're bigger cards, but apparently 2 terabytes the most it can address or whatever.
Yeah, and even then on some you're going to want to spend the right amount of money and not go cheap, because you can get a
I would
2
agree.
terabyte card. You can get a 2 terabyte card for under $100. Don't.
Well, I was going to say
Right.
there are a number of devices out there, especially in the Android market, that they will
Yep.
tell you the same thing. You can put a SD card, a micro SD card in there, but you better make sure you put a higher speed card. If you put the lower speed card,
Yep.
you get problems with it. So there you
Yep.
go.
Yeah. So
Right.
from a general computing perspective, not a bad choice. From a
No.
gaming perspective, runs Steam, EA, as
I know it
well
runs
as
Xbox.
Epic and Xbox games very, very well.
Okay.
All major platforms.
All good to
right?
know.
So nice.
Yeah,
nice
about the
stuff.
only thing I can't see it doing well at is the brand new, and granted, even desktop PCs are struggling with the new flight simulator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
heard that as well.
Yeah.
That's-
So I
that's-
mean,
that's
that's the only thing
understandable.
I would not try running on it.
Well, you've also got to understand it. I mean,
Right.
it is not meant to be.
Right. It's a portable gamer. It's
It's
what
a
it
portable
is.
gaming
Right.
system. All right. It's not a
It's not a high-end desktop gaming system
right.
replacement. It's
Right.
not that.
It would run my
It is
retro
not.
games
But if you're
just
wanting
fine.
something to go and here, there, and everywhere and play.
Well,
It's
it's
not
nice
that.
to have something to go and use and that kills a few brain cells for a while. But you know what? Speaking of people whose brain cells have been killed,
You know, the DOJ, honest to God. Joel, what
Yeah.
did you call them earlier this week?
Dumbasses?
No, that
I
would
don't
be it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the DOJ's saying Google should sell Chrome and be banned from re-entering the browser market for 5 years. I'm like,
Oh my
do
God.
they even know what Chrome is?
no.
I'm like, I mean, yeah, it's a browser. That's the simplest answer. However, what they refuse to acknowledge is that Chrome is a open source project, essentially. In the background, what if it was not for Chromium, Chrome would not exist. All
Or
right,
Edge,
so
or this one, or that one.
so I mean, this is just showing how clueless they are when it comes
Yeah.
to technology, because it
I-
just doesn't make sense
yeah.
to do that.
I
Because
got to be honest. Even if I agree
Google's
that
not
they're
making
right,
money from Chrome itself directly.
Even if I agree that they're right, that we need to break
Right.
up Google and we need to do these things, I keep going, oh, okay, but do you really understand how to do that in any kind of sensible way, or
Right.
what you can and can't do?
Or what it
Because
would
this
do to the
isn't it.
market.
But this isn't it. This isn't the
Right.
sensible way. It's like, okay, if you think they ought to be broken up and there's a monopoly thing going on here, okay, you can probably talk me into that argument. But so what exactly you're going to do? This is a stupid answer.
Right. Right. And the simple fact is, yeah, just because Chrome is the market leader doesn't mean there's a monopoly. There's not. You don't want to use Chrome, you use Firefox. Don't want to use Firefox, use Brave. Don't want to use Chrome or Firefox, use something like the Arc browser or
There are
something. Guess what?
42 browsers on the market. Take your
Yeah.
pick.
And they all are very, very good
Well,
browsers.
they
It's
all
not
work,
like it
yeah.
used to be.
Nope.
No. And again, my argument is I think the problem isn't really if you want to make a monopoly argument, it's not about the browser. It's about
No.
the search engine coupling to advertising, coupling to whatever. Those are the pieces you need to be focusing on if you're going to focus on anything. If this is not where you would focus your attention. This is a
Right.
dumb place to focus your attention.
Yep.
The browser's just the front end to it. It isn't what you're these are not the droids you're looking for. I'm sorry.
But
No,
for,
yeah.
for decades and decades, the government, blue or red, they've always tried to get
Yeah.
into this space without the
Yeah.
knowledge to do it. They just
and
don't have
and,
it.
and the thing is, again, even if they're right, their approach is completely
Yeah,
wrong.
they'll screw it
right.
up if they
And they're
do
looking
it.
at the wrong pieces. I argued this, and again, you're right. But what you're saying, Larry, blue or red? I've watched
I've
leaders
watched it over
from both
years.
sides put people into positions or make statements or decisions that's like completely blew up the market without really understanding what they
and
were
that's
doing.
that's because they're busy being political when they should really
Well,
concern themselves
right, you
more
can sell this,
with
you can
being
sell it with a
practical,
soundbite,
not
right?
political.
They're
And
looking
I
at
don't
what they can
remember
sell with
what
a
year,
soundbite.
but it's been a long time ago. But they tried to institute an arm of our administration, the technology arm. It had this weird name. And it fell apart within 2 years. It never
Yeah.
went anywhere.
Of course it did,
So,
So here we are again. We're trying to
idiots.
break it. We're trying, you know what? The game never changes. It's
Nope.
it's we always got somebody we got to be picking on, and we've always got to be somebody we got to be tearing
Well,
apart.
Always somebody
and
trying to see what how they can get their end out of it.
Right.
unless we complain, we complain about our own government doing this, and whether it's blue or red, we can complain about this worldwide. We have complained
Yeah.
about this nonsense worldwide.
Yep, like the
Nobody's
crap
government
going
gets
on
it.
in the EU. I mean, it's
nobody
just a lot of
understands it.
stupid stuff. No government agency truly understands how
Exactly.
technology
So,
works.
Lest you think that we're picking on our own, we're
We're
picking
not.
on everybody, guys.
We're equal
No.
opportunity assholes. Let's
We
That's
are.
right.
Yes, we are.
We'll pick on everybody.
We do.
When we know they're not understanding it, we're more than happy
No,
to pick
and
on them.
That's why we
honest
don't
to
talk
God.
politics on this show, because we're not politicians. We're geeks.
We're not.
Well, we're geeks,
Yeah.
right. But I will say, I've said this before, and I will say it again. excuse me, President Trump, pick me.
Yeah.
I will. I know you've got a technology czar.
Make him the CIO.
That's fine. All right. You want him to run it? At least this guy, has a technology background. That's fine. You need some other people to help support
This
him.
is a starting point.
There are 4 grouchy assholes right here. We'll go ahead.
We are so
This
happy
will
to
work
go
the way
there.
that you want it to. Pick us. Pick me.
We are completely happy
Pay me
to go
while you're
there.
at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And here, the other thing that is happening that is, I think, is very, very interesting. It's somewhat sort of related, but not really.
But another stupid decision. And this isn't even a government
I don't know
one.
if it's a stupid. Is it a stupid decision? Well, all right. So let's talk about.
That's I guess that's the conversation.
Let's mention at least what it is. All right. AT&T is set to shut down its landline service. All right. This is the Bell service. This is the standard landline phone service by 2029. They said.
Well, let's be clear on this. They're not set to shut it down. They've made a statement that they want to shut it down by 2029.
Okay,
that's a little
want to
different.
shut down.
Right.
The title of the article is AT&T to shut down landline service by 2029
for most people.
And this is again coming from ZDNet.
Yeah,
I want to make certain though that everybody understands. All right. That a couple things are going on here. All right. I believe that their landline service, which basically everybody in their prior to 1984, all right, everybody and their brother used this service. Everyone. All right.
Yep, they did.
And when I mean everyone, I mean not only everyone in the United States, everybody had to couple up to it so that they could go ahead and have the red phone and pick up the phone and call China and pick up the phone and call your relatives in South America or wherever it was that they were. All right. It was all this. All right. I believe right now that as of right now, it is less than 5% of their entire business, most of their business being the digital mobile service, right? Data and voice.
A good, Chris, good point. Let me inject a real life number here. We did a survey about 2 months ago. 1,200 people sent an email. Do you still use a landline phone? 1,200 people. 115, 120 answered, which is about right.
About 10%, sure.
12% still use a landline.
Yeah.
12%.
I have wiring in my house,
but it's in line.
Right. Actually, 11 point something, but
a lot of people were still using them for a long time for things like alarms. They were still hanging in there.
Alarms.
There are
not needed anymore.
Don't need. They're all cellular based now.
Yeah.
Well, but the problem is, again, it's always been considered a service of last resort. There are a lot of legal implications if you try to get rid of that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
code for where I built this house. Building code for when I built this house said I had to have a phone jack, one phone jack installed in my house. It's never been connected. It never will be.
Right.
But the point is, cell services fail with a much higher rate than POTS lines.
They do. But the biggest problem though that AT&T and other landline carriers, if there are any out there, other than there are
quite a lot.
All right. All of those rely on copper wire.
They do.
There's a problem with physical deterioration of copper wire in the ground over time.
Oh yeah.
And
no question.
And underwater. I mean, they're ungodly huge and thick to be able to carry the number of calls on each wire, but or each line, but the cables connecting.
Let's keep in mind, a lot of our lines to Europe
cables
are still copper wires going to Europe. We still drive those trunks. They're still copper. There's fiber too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, sure.
But a lot of it's on copper. Now you could argue, but here's the argument. It isn't about whether it's copper and copper's decaying or not. The question is, what are you going to do to drive the last mile to between how you?
And that's always been the problem, hasn't it? The last mile
still does not have the reliability that a hardwire connection does. So if something bad happens, a nice EMP pulse and those are done. Or whatever.
Pretty much.
The point is you need something as a backup, something that was tip and ring is about as fundamentally rudimentary as it gets. And if you don't have it, I think you're always going to have some small percentage that needs that, and maybe that becomes a specialty service. Maybe that becomes
It might
a
be.
side service. I don't know, but the point is, I've already got a lot of people. I'm in telecom for people who don't know. That is my business, and I can tell you that a lot of people, a lot of customers, are already being pushed off by the baby bells and whatnot. They're being pushed off of traditional copper landlines, and a lot of questions I get, especially from the corporate or business side of things, is, well, what are we supposed to do for our failover services? And we all look at them and go, well, here's your choices, and it's about your carrier, last mile. We don't choose the carrier for them.
Right.
And they are not entirely happy with the messages that they're getting. And this is just another example of, yes, you're right. Only less than 5% of people overall are still using landlines as consumers. But that doesn't mean there isn't still
Chris,
a driving.
I think you hit the nail on the head. At some point, majority is going to win, and the
They
small
are.
percentage left is going to have to
Well,
be specialty service. That's it.
It'll be a
Yes.
specialty service. But the point is, you're going to have something, at least at a trunking level, running around that are hard wires as
Right.
some sort of backup when if this other crap fails, because it will. I
Well,
guarantee it. We see it all the time.
Sure.
We also see it in the data world with everybody putting everything in the cloud. Cloud services fail, kids. We got to have something local backed up as well, just
The
to
cloud,
save you something.
Right.
the
And this
cloud
is the
will
same
still
model.
evaporate. Yes.
But this is the same problem. You've got to have some way to protect yourself in the event that you lose that remote service, as it were. So, this is what people were doing for years. Now they're saying we won't have this anymore. Okay, what do we have? And I think for some people, Larry, I think what it's going to be is they're going to drive fiber to the endpoint instead of driving copper. I think
Right.
for some people that's going to be the answer.
I'm
you know.
sure in our lifetime they'll still be kicking this can down the road. We'll
Well,
never
that's why
see
I laugh, but that's why I kind of hesitate when they say, "Well, we'll have this done by 2029."
No,
I'm here to tell you, you won't have it done by 2029. They'll still be
Nope.
There's still
a
going to
certain
be
percentage of
something
people
out
on it.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going to be done.
Right.
It can't
No.
be. It will. It's going to be like faxing. We can never quite get rid of it.
There's always that
Mhm.
one company, fax it to me. No, well, I can't do it then. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Back in 2021,
mortgage
when my
companies are the worst culprit there.
right.
They are
Oh.
not lying.
You know
Right.
who's actually the worst culprit there is the medical profession. Hospitals,
Oh,
doctors.
really? Are they?
There are legal requirements in some cases that you
I was going to
cannot
say the law,
transmit
but
them.
yeah.
You have to transmit them certain ways. Law is the same way. Anything that
Yeah.
involves legalities or private data, believe it or not, they consider fax more secure than anything. And it's crazy, but they do.
It's crazy, but true. So one of the things that I had to do when my aunt passed away back in 2021 was I didn't have a fax machine. Right. And the lawyer wants to fax things back and forth. Right. I'm like, fax. Can't you take an email?
Dude.
No. Email might get hacked. Fax it. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Create the PDF. And then I had to go out and I had to get a faxing service. Right.
Yeah.
That I do through email.
Exactly. That's what we all
Hello,
do.
fax. Great service.
Yep.
I chose Faxage, which was
So-
like $8 a month.
I guess, Chris, this is just another example of us old guys watching the old technologies go away on us. Or trying to go
Yes.
away on us.
It's very, very true. Very, very true.
I
And with
want my
that note,
beeper back. I want my beeper back.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
shut up, Larry.
Oh gosh.
I love you.
I remember.
love
I
you.
got to tell you. I remember having one of the first text pagers, and I had it because I would get alerts from systems when they would go down, and I would know what would happen because the alert would tell me what would happen because it was a text pager.
Right.
And I remember being in the mall once, and it went off, and the security people pulled me to the side because they thought I was doing a drug deal. Because only drug dealers had pagers apparently at the time.
Text pages.
Like I said, yes. I said yes, and engineers and doctors.
And all sorts of other legal people.
Other people that are allowed to have them. There's
Uh-huh.
it's not a legal restriction. So
Yeah.
technology, it's amazing the technology that we've seen come and go. This is just another example. This has been around, what, 70, 80, 100 years. This technology has been around
Yeah.
and very reliable, very, very durable technology. But
And
aging infrastructure.
through a
here we
large
go.
part, the basic underlying principles have not changed. So
No, it really works the same way it worked
back when
millions of years ago, it seems
Mr.
like.
Watson, come
back
here.
when the
I need you.
dinosaurs were here. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go
Awesome.
ahead and I'm going to move us to our Windows segment, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that right after this brief message. Hi. This is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org. I wanted to talk with you today about becoming a contributing donor to the site. iTechGear.org has been around for almost 15 years. In fact, our anniversary is just around the corner on January 10th, 2025. 15 years. Where has the time gone? I've never really asked for any kind of donations for the site. It's always been about me providing value to you, a site visitor or podcast listener. The iTechGear Weekly is now in its 4th year of production, and Chris G, Joel, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin and I are having a really great time providing you with some of the best free tech talk available from time-tested original internet writers, testers, site founders, and professional writers and editors on the internet. I truly believe that our crew has some of the best and most qualified pundits and commentators on the internet today. And we're not hobbled by any kind of sponsorship or affiliated relationship or other time-bought posts. It all comes from the heart. Unfortunately, times are kind of tough. And since the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2023, yes, almost 3 full years, times have become increasingly difficult for small independent sites like iTechGear.org to stay afloat. I normally do this with a portion of the salary I make from the day job. But with the IT market so tight right now, it's really difficult sometimes for many to make normal household ends meet, let alone fund a site like iTechGear that might decide to bring in a buck or two. It ain't easy. If you find any of our content on iTechGear or from ITGW to be of any value at all, I would seriously appreciate you donating as little as just $1 to the cause. While we do have a Patreon site, it's hard to keep one website up, let alone 2. And since it's really only me doing the work, our Patreon site hasn't really helped us at all. If you can make a donation to the site or to the show of any amount, I'd be forever grateful. All donations will go to site maintenance, hosting, podcast hosting, and everything iTechGear related. Donations can be made to my PayPal account at chris@itechgear.org. Make a donation. We'll thank you immediately on the next ITGW episode and voice our gratitude. I want to thank you. We appreciate your consideration, time, and attention. Now let's get back to the latest iTechGear Weekly episode. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode number 114. I'm a Pimpin. And
Are you
I'm
okay?
a Poohin.
Are you okay there? Because you sounded like you hurt yourself.
That's
Well,
right.
Anyway, so I want to bring us into our Windows segment. Thank you very much. The first one, speaking of AI and a whole bunch of weird things that are going on, you may remember a few weeks ago or a few episodes ago, we were talking about Windows recall and what a garbage, a dumpster fire it was. Apparently
Still is.
apparently it's back, and
Oh.
somebody said it was great.
Well, that's what brings us into our new segment of Pimp and Poo.
Pimpin' Poo, yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to give you about 3 or 4 things that people are saying is good about this, and then the rest of you can hammer it.
And the
So
rest we can
Microsoft's
flush.
now
Okay.
a very controversial Windows recall feature is finally ready for testing. I have not used it, and quite frankly, I've pretty much given up on Windows as an OS on my desktop. But from what I've read, first impressions actually are very good. They're positive. given the many privacy and security issues that surround this, and again, all the delays that it's experienced. But the concept itself isn't bad. That is, it's an app or a service built into an operating system that essentially triages all that you do on your computer, is supposed to make it super easy to revisit at some later point when you need it. So it's one of those features that doesn't showcase its worth until you really need it. It may sit in the background forever, but what they're purporting here is that when you do need it, it'll be there, and it supports both text and image-based results, and supposedly is very fast and is surprisingly good. So that's
Is
the good
this-
side of this.
All right. Is
Chris.
the thought behind this supposed to be something like Time Machine on the Apple side?
No. It's not that's a backup.
Right.
This is supporting text or image-based recall. Anything that you've said, done, or anything that's been typed into a text pad or anything that you've done on that computer, you can recall it with Windows Recall.
So this is just a, hey, what was
Hey, help me remember tool.
what was the
Time
guy at the
Machine-
place at the thing, and then it helps you remember.
Right.
Okay.
You have to know a specific word or phrase, and that you can key in to make it
Okay.
remember. But
I would say Time Machine was more focused on tracking file changes, right?
right.
You changed your
Right.
files, you did something different. Oh, okay, these
Mhm.
changes happen. I'll make a incremental backup of that
Mhm.
change. This is a service that is more about the transactions that you make on your computer, not about the files that you touch necessarily.
Yep.
Even
Okay.
non-Windows
Transactions you make.
software transactions,
Yeah,
actually.
even non-Windows software anything that you do on that computer, inside of the OS, that is, but anything that
Mhm.
you do,
Mhm.
it supposedly is going to snapshot
Remember
it. I think is the word they're using the
Right.
word snapshot.
Okay.
Not to be confused with pictures, but more like events.
Well, it's like a data snapshot, right?
Well,
the
it's an
kind of
event.
snapshot
It's an
we're talking
event
about.
snapshot, necessarily a data
But
snapshot.
that's the way that you're using the term snapshot.
Yeah, they're calling it snapshots, and it's just looking at a slice of your transactions at any time.
Oh, yeah,
It's
it's a
supposedly what it's
slice.
doing. It's a slice, all right. So yeah, so
Right,
supposedly they've addressed a number of the security concerns that we all had, and everybody went crazy about when it first came out in beta.
Mhm.
And now it doesn't work for some people now. And that's
Mhm.
still out there.
how much storage does this thing need?
Well,
I would
that was
imagine a
Yes.
boatload.
I was left with two more
Absolutely.
questions. I was kind of left with two questions. There's a whole conversation about the fact that it doesn't go kind of work across devices. It's in, each device is separate. Well, that could be part of the privacy argument. But the question I had was, okay, where are you putting this? Not only how much space does it take, but where are you putting this? Because one article I read made me think that they were actually shoving it into your OneDrive. And I thought, wait a minute, wait. Is this just another
Right.
way to sell me yet more OneDrive space? Because
Right.
if it is, that's just like their backup that only backs up to OneDrive. I'm like, really? So I don't know if that's true. So I don't want to sell that. Gee, that's what they've done. Until I see it, it's still not out. It's still in preview. It's still not out
And
in
then who
general
has
consumption world
access
yet.
to it is the other question.
Right.
Well,
But
that's the other question. Who has access to it? But again, even if it's in the cloud and they're sending every one of these transactions out to my account in the cloud, even if they're doing it in batches, really, what does that look like? And what kind of loop? I know we can set a lot of this. A lot of this is choosable and supposedly choosable, but I still have a lot more questions than answers at this point, I think. But
well,
do I think the concept is cool? Yeah, I guess I do. I do think the
I
concept's
do
cool.
too, conceptually.
But the implementation scares the crap out of me.
I
So-
believe 2 years from now, we'll look back and say, I remember Windows Recall. I don't think it'll come.
yeah. And that'll probably
Yeah.
be about it, which would be fine with me.
Yeah,
But-
for me, the security risks are too high.
I think
I
so
will never
too.
use it.
No.
I think so too. That's my concern as well. Is that
And the
and
private,
I'm
even
not
the
getting
privacy is not right.
well,
It's
I'm
just
not. I'm still not getting the answers that I think I need to be comfortable with this. I'm not hearing what I need to hear yet. So
I still want to know if it's going to store all this crap and I think it is. I still think that it is. It's going to store it all in OneDrive. All right.
Right.
Yeah, if it's doing OneDrive as opposed to local, because let's face it, most
Well,
local PCs are 256 or 512. That is not a lot if you're going to store all the
no,
transactions.
no, and that's the whole thing. Now, what might be nice if they gave us the ability to choose like Dropbox or Google Drive or something else.
I agree. I
Right.
All
agree.
right.
Oh,
However,
Well, I said that with
hey, answer boys and
okay,
girls.
go for it.
Snapshots and all snapshots and associated data are stored only locally on the
Okay, fair enough.
device.
Fair enough.
Do you believe them? That's the thing.
no.
I
That
don't.
one I do believe. That one I do believe, and it's the
Yeah.
reason why they have a better chance now
Yes. Yeah.
than
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
did before of getting it in the enterprise because it doesn't leave. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't leave the premises. The problem that you're going to have now though
Space.
is you can no longer sell a 128 gigabyte drive as the default if this is
Yeah.
going to be enabled. Because I can
Yeah.
guarantee you,
Well,
I will buy the PC on a Monday and I'll be out of space by Thursday afternoon.
I have that
Yeah.
problem with Windows Server computers all the time in our environment there.
Yep.
The logs suck up space, everything
Yep.
sucks up a little space, and over time, and you know,
It doesn't take much time to do that.
it
No.
doesn't
No.
take much time to do that. And even if this was just a log, I'd be concerned about what it's doing. But I suspect that there are bumpers on the time frame. It only does it for the course of a week. It only does it for the course of a month or whatever it is, the
Mhm.
transaction. But then that limits its usability and its usefulness. Oh, you know,
Yep.
I remember last week I did this thing, and you know,
Nope.
is that there anymore? Nope.
Nope.
You know, so
They also say that with your consent, that information, the snapshots and the data can be shared with other users on that
yes.
device.
Well,
who
let
are
me,
logged in.
but let me add to this.
Yeah.
Chris's concern with the enterprise model.
I can hear
Yeah.
that now. Hey, sweetheart, it says here that you.
Yeah,
there
honey,
you
what
go.
was the name of that porn site that I was on the other day? Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah.
But you raised it. The IT departments and enterprise. You know, they're going to want to do like where I work at. They tried to redirect all of our desktops and documents and some of the other folders to the corporate OneDrive. They supposedly for the nature of protecting us so we didn't lose our data. But the reality was a lot of apps didn't work with that. It's
Mhm.
looking to the local references to that. So what you ended up with was this split brain kind of thing happening
Yeah.
on your Windows desktop. I'm like, this is crap.
Yeah.
So I switched everything back to my local so that everything would be consistent again.
Okay.
But this tool has the potential of becoming very split brained. Was it local? My IT department says, well, no, all this data has to go to us. So they just map a drive. How does this know that the drive, it's a drive
All your
mapping.
data
What does
are
it know?
belong to us. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. What do they know? You know, what does it know? So where are they going to send all of my transactions now to my corporate IT? And then I've got a big brother thing going on there. Yeah, I'm not thrilled
Yeah,
about
like
any
I
of
It's
this.
said,
not going to fly. It's just not.
no,
No.
I mean, they might
there's
figure
too
it
much.
out for
There's
some
too
people.
much here that from a privacy perspective now, even
mean-
though I will tell you that most companies that you work for will tell you
Well,
that
it's
you
their data.
there is no expectation of
No,
privacy.
that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But that just
No.
means that me as an employee have to be twice as clever or twice as smart or twice as careful about what dumb things I might
Yes.
say.
Well,
Yeah, or
I
do.
will tell you that nowadays, when I onboard new employees to these organizations that I support, especially the
Yep.
one, you have to tell them, we're giving you a PC. Here it is. Here's all the
Yeah.
crap. Be aware that we own everything that's on that 24/7. So be
Yep.
careful what you
Yep.
put on it.
Yep.
They have to
Yep.
sign a
Yeah.
paper that says
Yep.
that.
I don't doubt
Yep.
that.
And I get why that needs to be.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not.
no,
I
you
don't
have
deny it at
to.
all. But where I get concerned is when I don't know what it's doing, or where it's going, or why it's going.
Right.
Not that again, the fact that my company was keeping, redirecting our data. That's fine. I understand that it's the company PC. It's their thing that they can do. I understand that. I get that. But I
Yeah.
didn't know where it was sending it, and that was pissing me off. And it wasn't consistent about where it was sending it, and that was pissing me off. And this tool has the potential to be a big old mess. Again, conceptually, I think it's an interesting idea, but in
No,
practicum, I'm not thrilled.
No.
I'm just not thrilled.
no,
So
neither
there
am I.
you go.
And neither am I. This
You'll
is not
hear
Just
us
like I
talk
don't
about
believe the
this
next
one
story
again.
either.
Oh, another one of these stories. There you go. You got it.
Yeah. So the next story, Microsoft does not use your data from Microsoft 365 to train its AI models.
Wait.
Of course
Let's
not.
Yes.
let's pause a minute where I laugh privately about this.
Yeah.
So they specify connected experiences within Microsoft 365 are not related to training AI models. And I'm like, well, I mean, I know they want us to feel comfortable putting our data in Microsoft 365, but this doesn't really give me the warm and fuzzies,
No.
and nor does it let me believe them.
Yeah.
Because if you're training, you're not using our 365 data to train AI, then what are you using to train the AI?
Well, and they are using data from LinkedIn to train
Right.
AI.
Of
So
course they are.
where is yeah, I kind of go well, and they say nothing in any of this article about Teams, do they?
No.
No.
Because I've heard that their Teams is being used in a similar way with its tool set.
Well, with
So
its tools, and there, it's an interesting tool set. I think it's becoming a lot like Outlook was.
it
It
is.
is
I was thinking the same thing.
such a pain in the ass. It
And
has
it
got
just
so
plug
much
in this, plug
crap
in that.
in
Yeah.
it. It was
Yep.
meant to be a way to IM folks within your organization and be able to trade files back and forth, right? And a way to, you have established SharePoint sites. It's a way to be able to go ahead and point somebody to, hey, the file that you're looking for is over here on this site. Here's a link. All right. And to share that link and allow folks, and it's supposed to be on the SharePoint site. Well, now Teams has its own quote unquote storage, and it's SharePoint, but it's a separate
SharePoint. Yeah. It's
SharePoint
different.
from
Yeah.
your SharePoint implementation,
And
which
by the way,
confuses
by the way,
everybody.
the old one didn't work either. There's a whole
Never
problem with
did.
rights,
No,
rights
and this new
management. It's
version
never
of
worked.
Teams, and this new version of Teams is giving a bunch of folks a
Horrid.
huge
It's
amount of
horrid.
problem and
Yeah.
trouble, in the company that I'm currently working for.
Yeah, I don't doubt that for a minute.
It is probably one of the biggest pains in the butt I have ever seen in my entire life. Is it the way that we're, that we as a company are choosing to work and collaborate? Yes. Do we need a better set of policy and training and management for how this thing works and where we're going to store data? Yes, I think so. And I
Yeah.
think it needs to be, I think it needs to be very, very specific and very, very,
Well, and I would argue that some of the problem is that they based it on SharePoint to begin with, and SharePoint was a disaster from
well,
get-go. But that's a
if
whole
they
nother.
if they didn't create and implement their own version of SharePoint within Teams, I think it would be a hell of a lot better, because then somebody who doesn't go through the interface can go and find the same freaking file that you're working on. All right.
Mhm.
Maybe.
And you can't do that right now. No. Realistically, you can.
I
All
get
right.
you.
All I
I
need
get
is
what
the
you're
same
saying.
link. All right. It's just a matter of, am I going to
Sure.
give you a folder link, or am I going to give you an actual file link? All right. The way that this currently works is a big pain in the ass. And I absolutely do not believe that they're not using my Microsoft 365
Of course they
data the
are.
Yeah.
way
I don't see how they can't.
they
No,
have
go
to.
ahead.
They have to. They got to take
So-
your Word documents and your Excel documents and your PowerPoint documents
Sure.
and all of your team chats and all of your all of the way that you're using your Windows installation, et cetera. And
Otherwise, how would that data get into the large language model?
thank you. How
Right.
how the hell else do they expect Copilot to be worth a damn?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, it's really nothing more than a pain in the butt now. All right.
Well, again, they say they're not using Word and Excel and things like that, but but I did see they are using LinkedIn. I believe they are using Teams. I've never seen any exemptions for those mentioned. So, but the thing is, you're sending those those Word and Excel documents through those things. So
Right.
where does the line get drawn on that? That's what I don't know. You know, and
They're
I'm
very
not comfortable
unclear.
with it.
They're
Yeah, it's
very
very
unclear
unclear,
about all of it.
and I'm not too comfortable with what I think they're doing or not doing.
Correct. Correct. And
As we've all said.
I think that AI is going to be one of the things that causes Microsoft to have a huge amount of trouble
Probably.
with their business and their business model. But that's just me.
It's going to
Well,
cause them to hire a lot more lawyers, I'll tell you
Well,
that.
And that's the one thing that they don't need.
So one thing I'll say on a side note, we talked about ARM-based computers,
Right.
and they haven't sold as well as they'd like because they keep basing everything on selling AI, and I think AI is not where we need to be going with all of this stuff in terms
No.
of selling it. They need to sell it on, if they're going to sell those computers, they need to sell them on another point like power consumption or something like that.
Power management, power consumption.
Yeah, but the point I'm getting at
Yeah.
is not to talk about those as much as to talk about that AI. Microsoft has thrown a lot of eggs in this AI basket, and this is just
so is
another
everybody
example.
else. So is everybody
Well,
else.
yeah, but even Apple doesn't have the financial dependency. They haven't spent $13 billion on OpenAI and trying to shove
$13
money
billion
down.
to Apple is absolutely nothing.
But the point is
But
they
Right.
haven't spent that kind of money like Microsoft has. They don't have the investment in it that Microsoft has. So if it fails for Microsoft and they've built, they're basing the bucket on this thing, it's going to be a big hurt for them if it doesn't go the way they want it to go.
One other quick comment on ARM. I know we're past it, but I just read an article the other day where Lenovo is building now their best Chromebooks, the ones they sell to the enterprise,
yeah,
with ARM. They have ARM-based Chromebooks now.
it's interesting. Well,
Well-
yeah, it's a low power operating system that
Well,
absolutely couple it with a low power
and
processor, and the battery's going to last forever.
Forever.
And the story from Google is they're getting rid of Chrome OS in favor of Android. They're merging it back into Android.
I cannot see that happening again real quick.
No, well, I think it may happen, but I don't think it's going to be a quick thing. I think there's a lot more to it than they
People don't
think.
realize how many big companies hand out Chromebooks instead of Windows
Well,
computers.
they're not getting rid of Chrome altogether. They're just going to merge it back into Android. The Android train is what they're claiming. It's just going to be Android like every other Android device. It's like okay.
What will that do to all the existing?
Don't know what it means. I think there's a lot more questions that haven't been answered yet.
Yeah.
I think it's just a stated goal.
So we'll see. All right,
Yep.
well, kids, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move us to our tip of the week segment.
Woohoo.
And I want to
Yes.
make sure that everybody understands, hey, iTechGear.org was founded with the intent of making technology easier for everyone to use and understand. This team specifically has dedicated their writing careers to that purpose. So every week we've got a computing tip within the show, all right, authored by one of our experienced editors, all right. Questions, requests, concerns, comments, etc., suggestions can be sent to tips@itechgear.org. And this week, boy, I have got a very useful tip.
You do.
I do.
What do you got?
We've been talking a lot about browsing, and if for whatever reason you accidentally or purposefully close a web page that you want to bring back, and you're still running your web browser in the same session on a Windows machine, all you got to do is press Control Shift T, and that tab will come right back. It comes
Any
right
web
back.
browser?
In your web, it works in Chrome. It works in Microsoft Edge. All right. And it will work in most Chromium-based browsers, as I understand.
Okay, so it's a Chrome. It's a
It's a Chromium-based.
It's not a Windows-based thing
It's
necessarily.
not a Windows-based, but it is a browser-based.
I'm gonna guess that on a Mac there's probably some similar combination that would work.
Interesting that you should say.
Well, there
I
you go.
decided it doesn't work in Safari.
Not Chromium-based.
It's not Chromium-based, but in Chroma and in other browsers on Mac, it is Command Shift T. All right, and it comes back.
Well, there you go.
Chrome and the Chromium browser base are some of the most used browsers on the internet today. Chrome being the most popular, And it's a tip that and a command that you should be very familiar with. You accidentally close it, or hey, you're surfing again and you want to bring something back as you need some piece of information that may be on that tab. Command Shift T,
That works in Safari. That one works in Safari.
Command Shift T. All right.
Yep.
Awesome. So there you go. It does work in Safari. So for your browsing needs on Windows, Control Shift T, bring the tab back. On Mac, Command Shift T, bring the tab back. And there you go. Bring back a recently closed browser tab. How about it? All right.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. And so now we're going to move to our pick of the week. All right. And again, I want to remind everybody that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually use, and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy over at iTechGear.org specifically indicates, hey, we have to let you know that up front. These are things that we just sincerely believe in, and then we want to bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like you.
Not bad. I think the best
We're
part of
getting
that.
better.
There we go.
Before Joel
All right.
presents it, I want to say I feel that this particular pick, Joel, thank you, is particularly festive and almost holiday centric, and I appreciate
is.
that. Before you,
It
as you
is.
And I
explain
got to thank him for doing it because I was going to, and I ran out of.
So, thank you on every level, Joel.
Yes.
You
So-
are our hero.
As you all know, I ran a race where you got hot chocolate at the end of it. Actually, you got it before too. But when you went to go pick up your bib and in your package, which included a very nice fleece, which looks very feminine. So I don't know how much I'll wear it. But anywho, they also had various vendors. So it was at the convention center down in Columbus. And they had various vendors sharing and selling different things. Like Second Soul was there sharing sneakers, and they had a big thing which was sampling the actual hot chocolate you got at the end of the race and stuff like that. But they also had a stand from, well, I don't know. I don't think these are directly Hershey's products, but they have Hershey's products in them. These are Candy Shop Cocos. They had a Reese's peanut butter cup one, which is my absolute favorite one. Unfortunately, I can't find the dang thing at the store. But
I like
they have a York
peppermint.
Yeah.
Headache.
yes, and I have that one. I have that one downstairs, and I've had it, and it's delicious. One based on the Hershey's milk chocolate, which is chocolate, standard cocoa,
course.
really. And then cookies and cream, and they are about now. Where I found them, Kroger's only seems to have the York peppermint patty and the Hershey's.
But it's
milk.
kosher.
Oh, that's all
But
they
it's
need.
kosher.
That
Yes.
is my favorite.
Yeah,
But
I'm with
for
you
this
like
time
that.
but for this time of year, very seasonal.
And it's
Yes.
kosher. So there you go.
Yes, and they have they're run about
Mm.
$5.99 at Kroger's. I actually they also gave us coupons there, so I got $2 off each of my boxes that I bought. But I do like them. They're about 140 calories per packet, and these are the
Okay.
kind you mix it with about 6 ounces of water. So keep that in mind when you're making them, because if you just dump in like a whole 12-ounce
Sure.
mug worth, gonna be a little watery. So
Yeah, I just clicked that favorites link, Joel. You can tell folks that it will bring up the local markets where they can buy it. It just gave
there
me
you go.
6 places near me to buy them. Cool.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
nice.
And
I'm gonna have
I
to see if
went
I can find a
directly
peanut butter
to the
cup ones.
Kroger.
Food City, Ingalls.
There you go.
Cool.
Yep. So it's delicious. It's a very fantastic thing. It'd be a great gift actually, for those who like cocoa, or a great you can buy one box and make stocking stuffers out of them. So people will like it, and it's a great product. And I love this stuff. So I've
This
got
is awesome.
yeah, it's good stuff. I wanted to try and find something technical, but honestly, my Christmas kind of got ruined by my mini fridge going out. So that's my Christmas present, new mini fridge. So, that was almost the pick, but I just got it like yesterday. So it's like, I wanna give it a good week or so before
Yeah. Okay.
I do anything about that. I got it from Best Buy. But this stuff though, hey, you don't need any refrigeration on this. They actually have things you can do with it too. Like I think they had a thing on there to help you make frozen cocoa with this stuff. So,
I saw that.
but yeah. So
Pretty
enjoy
cool. I'm
your
going to order
holiday
some of that.
season.
I'm going to get some of it. Actually.
I will say the peanut butter cup is my absolute favorite one. Oh. And I only got a little bit of it at the expo, and one packet I took home. So it's gone. So, but yeah, the other stuff's good too. I have a packet of the cookies and cream. I have not tried that one yet. So
Oh,
maybe that's what
Amazon's
I'll
got
do
them
tonight.
too. I just found
Oh,
that.
do they?
Yep.
Okay, good.
And they
Good.
have
So,
it at
yep.
Amazon, by the way.
Yep, that's
Yep.
what I just found out.
Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
price on Amazon?
I
Yeah, they're-
just killed the link. Hang on me.
I was gonna say their direct link site where they tell you to click on where to buy. I get nothing on that link, but
Yeah, unfortunately, around me, not.
yeah, I got nothing. Well, I've tried multiple cities. It has nothing come up on any of them.
Yeah.
So I think their link is not working. But like you say, we can get it. We can find it on Amazon. Kroger has the one flavor. So there's other ways to get this. But you can see
Yep.
it on this site. So it's a good thing.
Right.
Yep.
So the only one that they don't
Awesome.
appear to have, well, they've got the Hershey's cookies and cream, and they have the Hershey's chocolate. They don't have the Reese's, and they don't have the York peppermint.
Amazon does.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Send me the
They
link.
do too. I
Send me
just
the
looked at
link.
them. The link's coming.
The peanut
We
butter
let you
cup
lose.
is
Oh, they got tons of 'em.
phenomenal. Oh, it's so
21, Joel, 21.37 is the price on
good.
Amazon.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, and it looks like you get 3 boxes for that. So,
Yep.
Oh wow.
so
Jerry put the link in chat.
yeah, it's in the
Okay.
Zoom chat. Yeah,
Yep.
All right,
yeah,
kids.
and they
you
have
can
all.
also
Oh, they
go
have a
ahead and put
variety
that-
pack too, which gives you a pack of the Reese's, the Hershey's, and the York peppermint patty
And
for
that's what I'm talking about right
$24.
there, buddy. That's what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
That's
you
a
guys
great
are
combo
good.
right there, man.
So happy
Yeah.
holidays,
I
everybody.
bet you this would be delicious. Throw that in your coffee.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking the
This is
same
what I'm
thing.
saying. Yeah.
Especially the York peppermint patty one. Oh, dude. So
Mm,
enjoy.
mm.
Happy holidays, everyone.
There you go. So that is awesome. All right, kids. Well, that, as we say, is the show. We did go a little bit longer than we wanted to this time, but hey, we've been out for almost a month, kids. So do me a favor and cut us a little bit here. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 114. I'm a Pimpin' and I'm a Poohin. Recorded live Sunday, December 8th. 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I am Christopher Spera, and for Mr. Chris Gavula, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, I want to say, hey, you know what? We will see you next time.